and welcome to this episode of the Zoom Room Sessions. I'm David Francis Moore, and this is my colleague,
Juliette Garvey.
Yeah. And today we are with visual artist Friz. Friz, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Oh, thanks for having me. As an arts professional, I would describe myself, like discipline-wise, I studied classical animation, so my art style is sort of figurative, illustrative. I'm kind of informed by that study, but I practice in spray painting and painting on canvas, acrylic and digital work as well. So it's kind of, I'm always doing something creative, like if it's not drawing or painting, it's knitting a scarf for myself or something, so different forms of expression. But I wouldn't kind of limit myself to one area of expertise. I don't know. Is that what you'd even call it? Expertise. Yeah, it's an interesting one because it was only when I went freelance full-time, which was about, I think, 8 years ago. That's the first time I actually felt like an artist, because I did it for a living. And for some reason, for me, I'm not saying this is how you justify being an artist or not being an artist. I think most people can be classified as artists and not do it as a job per se. But yeah, that was the first time I really felt like, because then, somebody would stop, oh, what do you do for a living? And you're like, oh, well, I'm a freelance artist. And it suddenly kind of felt like it was real, even though it's like being married and being in a couple, nothing's changed. But for some, it's more just something in your brain switches and suddenly you look at it differently, I suppose. So yeah, I think it was about 8 years ago when I went freelance for the first time. So I had no aim. I did not know how to earn a living as an artist. I just knew that I loved painting, and actually I think it doesn't suit everyone to there's a fine line when your work becomes commercial and making money as a commercial artist and being hired to do commissions. Like, I don't think I'd suit being, say, a graphic designer and always having clients that working towards their briefs and stuff like that. So I think there's a fine line between a work and happy creative balance. Like I just said before, like I could very easily be painting Mickey Mouse on nurseries or in bedrooms and things like that. That's a skill, I can do that, but that's not creatively satisfying for me, so I wouldn't do that as a job, because I think I'd use all my creativity and have nothing left over for myself at the end of the day. So I don't know how I kind of fell into doing what I do now full time. I couldn't tell you that there's an A to B to Z. It just kind of really organically and really slowly happened that I started to and it all came down to spray painting as well. It suits the style of artwork that I love to do, which is kind of cartoony and animated. So yeah, it just kind of happened quite organically. I just sort of fell into it, but I didn't have a set goal. I just didn't know what. I knew I didn't want to do animation. I don't have the temperament for it. I don't have the attention span for animation, even though I love animation. I have a passion for it as a subject matter. But I knew I didn't want to be an animator, and I didn't particularly want to be an illustrator, and I didn't want to. How do you start getting into galleries? So just the spray painting just sort of snowballed into then generating another job and another. And I was, like I said, I was part-time working for the first 2 or 3 years of that until I had enough work generated to be working full-time with art. So yeah. I think they don't always go hand in hand. I don't think a lot of creative people are very good at being business people, shall we say. And obviously even myself, I had to really learn the hard way. I think it's only through experience you learn how to charge for your time and put value on your own work. A lot of artists are just, they're so happy to be painting, they feel bad then putting a price at the end of it, because you're meant to hate going to work, you know, like you're not meant to like your job. That's kind of I think that's the mentality a lot of people have. So I think that's why a lot of artists find it hard to then put a price on their time and effort. So it doesn't always go hand in hand, and I think it's sometimes the people who've paved the way forward, so it's the more experienced artists who can help you sort of come to terms with that business side of it. In terms of entrepreneurship, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I classify myself as an entrepreneur. I just kind of, I don't think I'm doing anything necessarily groundbreaking or thinking outside the box when it comes to my work. But then a lot of people I work with do, so it goes hand in hand. A good friend of mine, Adam Turkington, he would be Seed Head Arts, an event management organisation. He's got the vision and he has a passion for the arts. So it's a great relationship in that he has the idea to run an event and we just have to turn up and paint, and he organizes that side of it. So it's kind of, for me, working with people who are good at that sort of stuff and learning about it on, you know, on your own journey. So yeah, but I know a lot of art, like, I mean, if I do a project and there's paperwork to fill out at the end, it's like sort of my worst nightmare. But you know, like yeah, you kind of you get better at it. Or things like funding applications. You know, some people are very good at like knowing how to phrase things and get their points across, and then other people just aren't. So I've been lucky that I kind of know good entrepreneurs that work creatively but not necessarily are painters themselves, so kind of it's a nice relationship. I mean, there's a lot of very enterprising people who are creative, and you know, as a freelancer, for instance, like I have my social media presence, I have my online presence, but I wouldn't say I'm using that to its full capacity, you know. But there's some people that are great at taking these tools and being able to run with it and helping that like reach more people and more potential clients. And my form of social media is I have the presence, but people kind of have to come to me. It means if somebody's looking for me, they'll be able to find me, but not so much that I'm trying to find them at the same time. As you're saying, but like obviously like the most obvious one's been creativity, and so yeah, I'm trying to think there, but like even like being able to work with others, even though like what I do is like it can be a solo sport, there's a really lovely community based around, say, street art and graffiti art and spray painting on the islands, and even just like even within the UK and, you know, Scotland, England, Wales. So there's a lovely set. There's you know, a lot of graffiti jams, there's street art jams happen, and that's, I mean, it's networking without actually realizing you're networking. You know, it's not actively going, I'm going to go network now and meet these people and make connections. It's actually just a more organic form of community that then organically make connections that way. I'm trying to think what other ones you had said. Things like financial literacy. That was something that, I mean, yeah, I think most people in general, not even creatives or anything, fall into they're good with money or they're not good with money, or they're good at planning or they're not good at planning. And I think there are things that you can learn as well. Like I did the Go For It program here in the north, which is just a free business program. It didn't really 100% relate to me because I am my product, you know, it was very much about having an idea and how you package it and how you get it into production. And you're like, well, how do I package myself and get myself out there? So there's things like that, you know, that skills that you can learn that you might not necessarily have in general, that you can sort of pick up. It's that I mean, when I left my part-time job, obviously the planning part of that was starting to squirrel away some money so that I, you know, because I only had part-time work in terms of my creative jobs. So there was planning involved with that, you know, kind of looking towards the future, setting myself up so I could just go freelance. And then there's that like, oh, now I have to make money doing this, and that, you know, there is an element, you're right, on your Todd, and you have to just kind of you're in the deep end and you just have to sink or swim. So yeah, learning from experience is a huge one. Like I mentioned earlier, 100% with things like how to put a value on your time and your work, and how to charge accordingly, and how to protect yourself from not getting paid or getting paid on time. You know, being an artist or like a freelancer, sole trader, artist, you know, I'm a secretary, I do my own admin, I have to do my taxes, and an accountant. I have to chase up, you know, create invoices, chase up payments, and then manage, you know, be a PR person, manage my social media and put things out there. And then you have to be creative and do your art and actually deliver the product at the end of the day as well. So there's so many different facets that a lot of those 15 things will come into play. But learning through experience is definitely, it's a steep learning curve. You know? Yeah, well, my time is valuable. I don't even in my personal life, I don't care for people wasting my time if we're going to meet up or if we make plans, and you know, like I'm just like, you know, that person's not putting a value on your time. So then when it comes to monetary value on your time as well, it's a hard lesson learned, but also I think as a collective, a creative industry, if we don't collectively put a value on our time and our work, I think a lot of people who aren't creative, like I said, this is very broad statement. I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I think, like I said, when you enjoy something, like people think it's a natural talent and that you haven't put like 20 odd years behind yourself to get to the point where you can do something in 10 minutes. You know, that's 20 years in 10 minutes, as Steven Silver is a well-known illustrator, artist, cartoon designer, character designer. He said that, he's like, you know, I could do something in 10 minutes, but it's taken me 40 years and 10 minutes to be able to do that, you know. So there's all that time that you've put into yourself and practicing and your skill development that factors into being able to do something, you know, and the time that you can do it in. I mean, you don't learn spray painting, for instance. You can learn to spray paint really, kind of, no, you can't. You can learn to spray paint in about 5 minutes. You know, somebody could show you the ropes and all the techniques to get you started, but then it takes hours and days and months to start mastering those things yourself until they come quite naturally. So for me, starting out, I did a workshop as a student for a week, and that was the Urban Arts Academy. My friend Kevlar, he was the tutor, and I did that for a week. But then I had a relationship with him and with Adam, who a working relationship obviously with Adam, who was running that, and the other artists that were working on that, and we started connecting that way. And then just by meeting up and sharing information, again, like you're not considering it networking, you know, you're just actually just making friendships and connections. When it comes to like spray painting, other people showed me the ropes, other people invited me out to come painting, and that's how I learned. So there's a lovely like community aspect and collaborative aspect to spray painting that I find, that you know, there's a social element of it because you're standing side by side and creating something. another friend of mine, Dan Leo. We've worked on things together, and or even collectively as a group, like with Spoon or Manal, you know, there's give and take and compromises, and being able to take ego out of it and not be like, well, I want the best spot or the best wall. Sometimes you have a bit of a fight over if there's a good bit of wall and a bad bit of wall, but in terms of the overall design, you know, it's give and take, and you just don't do that when you're painting on a canvas in your bedroom or in your studio. So this, yeah, I don't know if it's like that in any other industries, really. I think it's possibly something that's a little bit special about spray painting, that I've found anyways. This is my room that I have in the house, my own personal studio, which is all my toys and whatnot and admin stuff in it as well. I also have a studio space in the Vault Studios in Belfast, which is the old Belfast Met Performing Arts College, which was sitting empty, and there's plans for it. So that this collective of creatives has come in and is keeping the building alive essentially until the plans move forward for it. And then obviously I work outdoors as well, working all over the country, occasionally in different countries around the world. And you're working and you're out in the public, so that's a different element as well, where you know, you're going to get people commenting and immediate feedback, literally almost as if you're not there. You have commentary going on behind you while you're painting something. So all those different spaces, they're very different and they work differently for different aspects of what I do. Yeah, or I'm sitting on the couch with my iPad and I have a movie on in the background. That's where I am most mornings anyways. Yeah, I mean, I suppose this is where coming up with putting value on your actual work comes into play, and you know, you set your hourly rate because you're not getting paid to sit down and send your invoices, or you're not getting paid to go to a meeting when maybe the other person, it's during their 9 to 5 and you're meeting, you know, like, whereas as a self-employed. So it kind of comes down to having awareness of that there's a lot of these sort of unaccounted hours that you're actually working without actually maybe producing, because it's not a painting. It doesn't feel like you're not thinking of it in the same way. So yeah, it kind of comes down to like, I know how much time I spend doing that, you know, so I kind of sort of the way I charge for things kind of covers the fact that I'm doing a lot of prep work. You know, I kind of work on my hourly rate for while I'm painting a wall, for instance, but that does kind of factor into the fact that I know I'll have X amount of hours prep in advance, or have to go to B&Q and to pick up paint, or to do like even just coming up with a paint order and sitting down and analysing your sketch and making colour choices, and then go and find the colour chart and picking out the colours and figuring out the quantities based on the size. All these things are just like, I kind of factor it into the job, even though I charge for, say, painting at a wall or doing the mural, but I'm charging on that, factoring in the fact that, you know, I have a certain amount of prep and post work to do as well, in terms of just sending invoices off or doing tax returns. Of loads of different clients. Primarily I make work for myself. I mean, that's kind of what I've always kind of touches back to what I was saying about, you know, I could say paint Mickey Mouse 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and make money off of that, which would be, you know, the business side of my head, but creatively that's not satisfying me. So I create work for myself. And I think when you put time and effort into, I've said this before, but like when you create something and you're really passionate about creating that piece of artwork, I think it's it attracts more work down the line as well. But I have done stuff for city councils. I'm from Sligo originally. I have an upcoming project with them for Tidy Towns. So you've got a lot of actually forward-thinking people, even in like, you know, rural areas that are, you know, looking towards brightening up the city. Things like Waterford Walls, you know, they've really put Waterford on the map in terms of the unbelievable murals that they have and the international artists that they've attracted there too as well. Pubs, small businesses, private clients who want a painting done or an illustration done. I do career work myself then, you know, my own pins and stickers and prints. So I'm creating that work and then selling that directly to the public. And then there's also like, you know, festivals. I've done work with the British Council of Northern Ireland, went to Colombia a couple of years ago, made connections with some amazing artists in Cali, and we had an exchange where the artists came back and painted in Belfast as well, which was fab. But again, that's not, you know, like that's just a festival essentially. So it's really varied. I mean, that's what I was saying, like I don't make all my money in one area. It's like doing lots of little things that then make up rent, you know, at the end of the day, which is, you know, or your mortgage, or, you know, like those type of things. So it's lots of little things actually, in small businesses and bigger, more corporate things as well, and it's everything in between.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Ireland in general has passion for its creative, whether it's poetry, literature, arts. I think especially when you have like Michael D as president, who is also very, very passionate and supports the arts so well. In terms of Belfast, where I kind of have made my home for the last 12 years, fantastic creative energy in Belfast as well. So I think in general, yeah, 100%, when you're painting on the street, you get great reactions. You're getting that immediate feedback from people as well. So I suppose it depends what flavor of artist you are. If you're doing something very quite abstracted, maybe, you know, people find that harder to connect with than me doing a cartoony character on the side of a building that, you know, you don't have to go into a building to see. So I found that, yeah, you have to kind of carve your own path. And like I said, if you don't put a value on your work and your time and effort, then nobody else is going to. And I think people take you more seriously when you do that as well. So I would say yes, a sort of a, not a black and white yes, but yeah. Well, it's been a while since I was in higher education. I think, okay, what could they do better? I mean, like what you're doing now, I know this isn't like necessarily through higher education, but like that sharing the realities, like I said, of how tough it is and how the ins and outs, all the stuff that's hard for an artist, like I was saying, like in general, things like pricing and the business side of it and how to work your finances, how to promote yourself. I can't tell you because I'm not in education anymore, and it's been a long time since I was, so I don't know if that's necessarily is being taught, or that sort of information is, as opposed to just like learning how to paint or X, Y, or Z. A term that a lot of people say nowadays, which is like work smart, not hard. Obviously work hard, but be smart about where you're putting your time and effort into, and also be professional and nice to people, because I mean, you're always on, you know, again, I'm just referring this back to what I do, so it's kind of, if I'm on the street, I don't know who I could be talking to that eventually could lead to another job down the line. So things like that. Yeah, and just that putting a value on your time. God, I've said that. That's like my buzzword, isn't it, from this interview? Just like, but yeah, like it's the biggest one I think that most people who just yeah, I don't know if it's like a psychological thing, like I was saying. This is probably from my experience, but like I enjoy drawing, so you kind of feel bad then going, oh, like I had a really good time making this piece of artwork, and they give me money for it, you know. You feel like just give it, and don't do things for free. I mean, be selective about that. Obviously, you know, if there's a charity that you're passionate about, but like the amount of, there's always going to be someone looking for you to do something for free.
This has been the Zoom Room Sessions. This has been Drive and Tribe, and this has been Friz. Friz, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. If people want to find out more about your work, what's your website? What's your handles?
Yeah, my website is www.thisisfriz.com, and Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is all This Is Friz as well. So you'll be able to find me that way. And thanks for having me on.
Brilliant, no bother. Thanks for coming.